is to take a spot which is in the city, and they dedicate that, and that's like a temple, and they can make it bigger or smaller as they wish.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, in Shambhala, they have a little governing center near the top of one of the major crystal centers, and they can turn that into a temple whenever they want to for ceremony.
Right. I mean, would it in fact be the case that because they are so advanced and more in perfection, that they don't actually need healing centers?
Exactly, yeah. They have a natural sense of the planet and are constantly in the equivalent of like a meditative mode anyways to help get together whenever it's required for the planet to get the energy that it needs to get its nodes empowered so that it's able to maintain and sustain its life forces.
Right. Now, I'm sure it must have cropped up in your messages. If not, I've certainly read it elsewhere. It's been said that at a certain time, the people from the inner Earth will actually come up to the surface. What would you know about that?
Well, what they've been doing from time to time, of course, is actually having missions where because most of them look like us, what they have been doing is just coming up here from time to time and just doing whole sessions where they stay for decades and actually pick up information. As a matter of fact, one of the things that I was told was that you never know if the person you're passing on the street is from inner Earth or whether they're just another fellow person from the surface world. So they've been here for a long, long time. So when they come up and actually reveal themselves, it's not going to really be all that startling because actually when they go to their full height, they're only a little bit taller than we are. But they can they can move themselves down because they can shapeshift because they're fully conscious beings, and they can look just like us. They can even mimic our how we talk and etc. in our languages, so nobody would know who they are.
No. The question that often interests me is regarding Admiral Byrd, and according to his diaries, he did visit the inner Earth. Now, personally, I believe that, but would you happen to know through your contacts whether, in fact, Admiral Byrd's account was true?
Yeah, it's true. What they've told me, he did that. It was kind of scary for him the first time. The second time, he kind of expected it.
Yeah.
So he became very, very interested in the whole concept of inner Earth. That's one of the reasons why he was a big proponent of for his second trip, which was was through the South Pole and what was called the International Geophysical Year of the late 50s, 57, 58. He was a big proponent to create IGY in the 50s because that's one of the things that he really wanted to do was to be given an opportunity to actually lead large groups of people into inner Earth in expeditions, and that's, of course, what happened.
Oh, right. Well, I'm pleased to hear that because, well, it goes without saying that a lot of these things are tried to be covered up, or they're disputed, or they're given out incorrectly. And I did have a really strong feeling that Admiral Byrd's report was correct. When you spoke, again, I'm going back to these notes that somebody passed me from your conference, that the Earth will be covered by two mantles made of ice. I seem to recall reading somewhere that, in fact, that's how the Earth was perhaps millions of years ago.
Right.
Do you know, in fact, if that is the reason why it will be covered by two mantles made of ice to restore it to what it was?
Well, right now, ice is kind of caused of the cold, and what is going to originally... The original Earth was very warm and had the firmament around it, so it really didn't have, except for the ice particles that made up the firmament, it really didn't have any ice on it. It was pretty much subtropical, temperatures being in the 70s with the lows being in the high 60s as far as Fahrenheit goes.
Right. So that is slightly inaccurate to say two mantles made of ice. It's actually ice particles, that's what you're saying, yeah?
Right.
Okay, that's fine. I believe at times there have been reports of flying ships coming out of the entrance to the inner Earth. So does one assume from that they are perhaps often seen in our skies? I mean, they obviously have that technology.
Right. Most of the inner-Earth ships come up through portals that are deep within the oceans of this planet, and a few of them come up through some hidden mountain valleys, and in certain places have been able to, we're fortunate people were in the right place to actually get pictures of the ships coming up. I have a picture that I was using in that lecture you're referring to, which was taken by some people down in South America who happened to be in the right spot at the right time and saw the ship come up and took pictures of it.
Oh, yeah. Can you tell me what type of craft they are?
Well,
are they round, triangular, or?
Most of the Garthan ships look like large bells.
Bells? Oh, they're that type, right. Well, there has been, over a period of time, reports of these bell-like craft, so we might well assume then that they have come from the inner Earth. Exactly, Mike. Yeah. That seems a strange design, really, doesn't it? Because one gets the impression that the most practical and most common seen type of craft are the discs. Right. Yeah, what kind of craft do the Syrians use? Most of the Syrian ships are shaped like large globes. There's one ship that's about 100 feet across, and there's a larger one that's about 300. Right. I mean, some of the sizes you read about where the motherships are concerned are truly staggering. I think I've sort of read of one that was hundreds of miles long, and it rather defies one's imagination. But what is your take on motherships? Well, exactly. That's exactly what most of the Syrian ships are. The one that I met washed on when I was a kid was a very small mothership. It was not that long. It was only a few miles long. The one that I eventually got to see him on later in the 80s and 90s was a much bigger ship. It was huge. Yeah. Have you been on board one? Yep. You have. I lived in those ships when I was a kid, and I've had a few times when I first started out again in the 80s and 90s when I went up to the ships. I haven't really been in a ship physically since early 90s. Right. Yeah. I gather that if people from Earth were to be transported into one, we might not actually realise we were on a ship at all. No, because one thing is we're used to, if we're on a aircraft of any sort, that we would feel an inert motion from the fact that the ship is bouncing in the air. Yes. In the case of these ships, they have no motion of any sort that you can detect. It feels just like you're on Earth. You're in some big house on Earth. And, of course, the difference is that when you walk, because the surface of the ships, the flooring, is set up to perfectly support your weight, it feels almost like you're walking on air because you don't have this give that you have when you're walking on a regular, let's say, wooden floor. Right, yeah. So that's the next thing you might feel. It'll feel almost like you're in some kind of a dream because of that. Well, I gather, and obviously in view of their technological skills, that they can replicate any type of conditions or atmospheres within those ships. Exactly. So they could put you in one of these advanced holographic theaters on their ship, and as far as you know, you would be someplace on Earth or wherever they want you to feel that you're at. Could be a rather odd experience to think you are still on Earth and find that you're on a ship. Exactly. Now, Sheldan, it's been a terrifically enjoyable time speaking to you, and I don't know where the time's gone. I've got about 3 minutes left before I have to close the program. So would you like to promote any of your books or whatever, or your website? And perhaps you could tell us briefly what's going to be in this new video that you're doing. Well, I have a video coming out on Inner Earth, and it should be out in the next week or two. And we're going to talk about the crystal cities, what Inner Earth is like. Oh, lovely. And we're going to, we'll have illustrations about how these various cities look. And we're going to talk about how they live, et cetera, kind of the stuff we've been alluding to, but in greater detail. And that should, like I said, should be out in a few weeks. And then we have 2 other tapes that people might want to get from us, which are about the different things about the landings and first contact, which are called Mission Possible and Landings 101.
And if anybody wants to do that, get to us. They can do a number of things. First of all, they can